Bring your cup and take a seat. Fill it up, coffee, wine, or tea. Come find what you're looking for. A good pour.
Welcome back to A Good Pour. I'm Kathryn Good, your host. Today, I'm thrilled to have Anna cook with me. She's a very good friend. She also runs Cross Country Mortgage in Hendersonville with one goal. She wants to make home buying less stressful and more personal. She's built an incredible team that focuses on clarity, care, and community, helping families find financial confidence, which is real hard these days, in the biggest purchase of their lives, which is their home.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Anna.
Thanks for having me. This is just a joy and a treat with you.
So, you're so fun to watch. We've also met in Leadership Seminar. Mary Catherine Oliver was on here, but she was not in our class. We were together.
She was
class.
right after us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to be her co-leader for that class.
She's wonderful.
But we got to be in class together. And then you've become a name in mortgage in this community for sure. You've also become a dear friend. And I see you at all the events. Yeah, it's just fun to be in community with you. One of my favorite things about you, though, is that when I talk about anything financial, you dumb it down for me because I don't handle the finances or the spreadsheets or the budgets in my house. And so, if I hear about a trend in the news, you can explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old without using AI.
I do feel like I've become people's ChatGPT in some ways when it comes to mortgages, which I would prefer them come to me than go into chat, as much as AI is super helpful. And that really, it brings me joy that that's how you think of me when it comes to money and mortgages, because I think that there's so much misinformation. There's so much lack of education. And I don't mean just first-time homebuyers or people who, are middle-class Americans, but we have, there's a big discrepancy in what people hear, what people have learned, generational wealth differences, and then just the everyday math of our lives. There's so much emotion around it and so much fear, and people just don't know what they don't know. And so I want to change that, especially here in town.
Yeah. So this podcast is about good work. And so I bet some people are like, how does a mortgage lender do good work? I want you to tell them.
We do some great work.
I want you to tell them. I know that, but I want you to tell them.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about mortgage lenders, rightfully so. So I can't speak to all lenders and I can't speak to the mortgage industry as a whole. I'll tell you why I do what I do. I started in the industry when the market was barely bouncing back. It was after the 2007, 2008 crash, which we bought our first home right before the crash. So we felt all of it. And I was working from home with my daughter and trying to be a stay-at-home working mom. My husband was working 16 hours. We were doing all the hard work. And my father was in the industry and he called me as a virtual assistant. And he called me and he said, I need you to call people who are told no. And we need to figure out if we can get them a yes. And this was people who were down on their luck. Their credit had been destroyed because they didn't understand that. They had lost some of their overtime and bonuses because the economy had shifted. They got into mortgages they didn't understand, and they were embarrassed. And the U.S. economy and the American dream is homeownership, right? We got here, we owned land, we built land, we want to own something that's ours. And I just saw the shame and miscommunication in the mortgage industry. And so I just would listen to people's stories. And then I would take it to my dad and he would figure out how to change their life through their mortgage. And there's so much misinformation, but then there's also just so much pride in how hard we work for what we do. And then for that to not be translated into their budget and their money and their mortgage really makes an impact on marriages. It makes an impact on schools, on communities. There's a lot that goes into how we view our money. And so the way that I moved forward when my dad convinced me to become a mortgage loan officer was like, if this is how people felt after that time and we move into a purchase market, how do we educate and empower people through their mortgage so they don't feel that again? And if they're going to work with me, that's my goal, right? Is the good work is that they're better off financially after working with me than before. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how I got into it. And I can't do something where They're not being educated and they're not being empowered to do it. And I have found that through mortgages.
Yeah. So let's take a minute to educate.
Okay.
What's the biggest misconception?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. I think that a big misconception is one of the biggest misconceptions is you have to have a lot of money to buy a house. And that means both economically having the income, but then also having a very large down payment. And generationally and historically, everybody needed 20% originally to get into a home, or they needed it to get rid of certain parts of their monthly payment, like PMI. And I say this to every client, but you don't make any more money living in a house by putting more money down. There's 3 reasons why you put money down on a house. It's to income qualify, it's to pay the house off sooner, or it's to get your monthly payment down to a payment comfort level that makes sense to you. And that's important, a payment comfort level that makes sense for you. But here's the thing. Very few people have the ability to save up 20% on a $400,000 house. And on top of that, very few people stay in a house more than 5 or 7 years. So paying off the house isn't the goal for my first time, second time, even third time home buyers. The goal is to get it and let the house start earning money for you while you live in it. Right. And so if $20,000 is only going to save you $120 a month in a payment, why would you work to save up that $20,000 when you could get into a house that's going to make you $15,000 to $20,000 the first year you own it? Now, I'm getting nerdy on the math when I say all of this, but here's the misconception. The misconception is, I just talked to a young lady yesterday about this. She's like, I keep trying to save up my 20%, and I'm living at home with my parents, and I really want my own home, but the housing prices are going up and my 20% keeps getting smaller. And if she would just buy the house now with the 5 or 10% down, that young lady would have $15,000 in equity in her home next year, just living in it, playing with her dog, hanging outside. We as Americans can't outsave the housing market. So we have to get into it. And so the biggest misconception is they keep waiting to get ready instead of learning how to do it now. And I think the news and social media and parenting and all of it's playing into that right now. But that's probably the biggest misconception is you have to have something big to get in. And really, you just need to have enough that your payment is where it needs to be. And you can say yes to an area you want to be in and make sure that you have enough saved up so that you have for repairs and you have a nest egg, and then let the house grow. Like that's why we call it wealth building through real estate.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, having lots of money to get in. It means getting in and let the house grow and make you money over time.
What's changing that, we are only in houses 5 or 7 years?
Oh, yeah. That life speeds up so quickly. I would say that generationally, that's been the thing. I've gotten really curious about generational changes in home buying and money. A lot of our parents and grandparents stayed in a house 10 to 30 years and they waited until they paid it off. But if you think of an average person, think about your life 5 years ago. 2020. Think about, my life's 5 years ago. There's job changes, there's school changes, there's relocation. We have multi-generational home buying where adult children are needing parents to move near them. We're in a transient economy where our lives are changing based off the necessities that are presented to us, and that requires movement. I had some young first-time home buyers buy last year, and they now are being relocated to North Carolina. They thought this was going to be a 3 to 5 year home, so we're having to figure out how to navigate that. The bosses of fun, as I call them, the grandparents, they're trying to get closer to their grandkids. So when kids start having babies, that shifts the dynamics of things. So it's really about the way our lives are speeding up and the necessities of that happen that change it.
Yeah.
I would say most of my first-time home buyers stay in a house of less than 5 years.
Wow. What specifically about Sumner County or just Middle Tennessee do you wish more people knew about the housing market?
There's more affordable housing than people think, but you have to be willing to look for it. And when I say affordable housing, that phrase, someone's going to probably criticize me for saying that because affordable housing means different things for different people. But what I mean by that in this context is I have a lot of my young first and second time home buyers who tell me they're never going to find anything in their price point. And I even have real estate agents who will say they're never going to find anything in their price point. And remember, I'm a yes girl. I'm looking for the yeses. I'm like, go look. Is it going to have the Chip and Joanna, everything perfect? No. Is it going to be as close to the local coffee shop as you want to be? No. But this is your first home. This isn't the home. Right. And so I have a young man who just bought an amazing home. He closed yesterday, first time home buyer, under 300,000. It has an extra shed that has the she shed and all the things. They're going to be able to do things. It has this really cool dry cellar underneath. The sellers sold it at perfect price point for them. And they walked in with their down payment, and then they had closing costs paid for, a grant that we have for first time home buyers. And this house will appreciate 5 or 6% annually. And somebody would have told him, you're never going to be able to find anything at that price point. Yeah. We've got to change our perspective on what we deserve for our first home and look at what can we get in that's going to be a good investment. That's a really big change right now that needs to happen.
Good point.
I mean, think about our first homes and what we had. And if people like, it's cheaper, but it also was cheap back then, but we had to do work to it, right?
Yeah.
We had to do some things to it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're involved in a whole lot more than just mortgage. Talk about how do you pour into Anna? You always shed wisdom. So I want to have a little bit of time to just let you talk about how you take care of you.
Well, those are two things. You said I'm involved in a lot of things, and then you said,
well, I mean, like you are involved in a lot of things.
Yes.
So how do you maintain your energy and fill you up so that you can pour out to other people?
Really good question. My husband and I actually talked about this last night. I don't do this well all the time. I will say that one of my biggest stress relieves, and you know probably what I'm about to say, is that I do martial arts. That is my hobby. I would say pre-2020, I didn't have a hobby. I pour myself into my work and my team, and I love what I do, and then I want to run home and love my family. So there was no in between for Anna. And then I found that I really like being aggressive and punching and kicking things. And so I do martial arts, and then I help out with our women's self-defense program at the dojo, and that's been really fun, impacting women with self-defense. And then I like being around women who want to talk and have good conversations. I'm really big on building a community of people that are authentic and that want to go deep. I mean, I remember when we met and had coffee and everything, when we talked about your business, it's like I crave and love community. And so I'm always looking for the people who want to do that well. But I would say that martial arts is like it's how I get. It's funny. I give back by being aggressive.
Yeah, that's true. Talk about the phrase, run home.
Oh, you might make me cry.
I asked this while you compose yourself. We had coffee when I was first doing the Good Pours, and I don't think it actually ever came out when it was a written form because you lost your social media and I kept waiting. It was actually a really good article and, all the things. But you said, I always want to run home.
Yeah.
And it's really stuck with me. So when you said it, I've forgotten, but yeah, I was reminded. So talk about that phrase.
So when I brought my business up here in 2017, because I opened up the branch in 2017, I've been in the industry 15 years. When you're in a small business community like ours, you get involved in everything. You say lots of yeses, right? Like you want to say yes to everything. And I have a daughter. She's now in 8th grade, and I have a wonderful husband, and we are just a trio. And there was a time where I was saying yes to everything else and not saying enough yeses at home. And it was because I thought that was going to keep me going in the business, and I felt the need to do that. And then in 2020 hit, and I realized that I wasn't as home as enough, and I had this little girl who needed to know me better. And so, I grew up with a single mom. She worked 3 jobs, and I didn't see her a lot because she was working really hard. So I wasn't going to be the mom who built a phenomenal business and was a community leader, and her daughter didn't know her. That's hypocritical, because none of it matters if I don't have them. And so anyways, so my coach said, you can't hide behind balance or production. You have to decide what's important to you and build your calendar around that. So I created Purple Time. Purple time is time where it's non-negotiable. And I build my calendar now around purple time. That's time with my family. That's time with myself. That's the things that are non-negotiable. And then I build my whole business around my purple time. So my thing is if I'm going to work really hard, then I stop and I go home. And so I started martial arts because Eliza and I needed something to do together. And so we started doing that. We would go to dinner, we would do martial arts, and we started having conversations on the way home. And I will tell you, at 14, looking back at 9, it's the best investment I ever made. Because the conversations we're having now is because of the conversations we started happening then. And she and I just have this gal power relationship. I'm still mom, still authority, but like, I know if something hard happens, she's going to come talk to me. Mm-hmm. And it's because I decided to run home. And it doesn't matter the success, the money, even the helping other people doesn't matter if you don't run home and love the people and be present. I don't get on the phone when I'm at home. I don't walk in on the phone anymore. And my value isn't about what I'm producing. It's about being present with her and my husband. And that's really important to me. I know that was a long answer, but it's running home. If we don't want to run home, why are we doing the hard, good work, right? Like that's my philosophy. And you can get really caught up in being the superhero and the ego of helping people and being great and being notarized and all the things. But if that little girl doesn't have me, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's
we want to change the world. We have to start at home.
We get a quote every year. I have a quote tree because I'm a big quote person. And we have this one tree that has these really pretty porcelain quotes. And my husband used to be in nonprofit work and he was gone 3/4 of the year. And he stopped that to work at home and be home so that we could start a family. And our whole thing since then has been, Mother Teresa says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And so if I want to change my community, I need to be a great parent and a great wife. I need to show up big for them because she's the generation. I need to teach her kindness and how to do conflict resolution and how to par conversations because she's going to need that later. And my mom worked really hard and worked 3 jobs to make sure that we were provided for. And there's a legacy in providing emotional intelligence and emotional health and things like for our daughters too. And I could have worked forever and she could have been empty and I would never have been a success.
Yeah.
So and she's awesome. She's pretty epic. So
yeah, I love y'all's relationship.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you just for being you. I knew we'd get some wisdom.
I probably knew I'd probably cry too.
No, well, that's the thing about you. You bring it all to the table.
Yeah.
Every bit of it to your work, to your family. They get all of Anna, which is a gift. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.